Thank you, Adara. How y'all feeling tonight? Oh, no, see, no. How y'all feeling tonight? All right, see, that's the energy we're gonna need because, see, what we're gonna do tonight is bring just a little bit of our version of a ballroom to y'all. Do y'all know what a ballroom is? Yes. Some of y'all watch the show Pose. Y'all get, when we come out, we celebrate fashion and realness and creativity and all that gloriousness that only queer folks can bring. So that's right, let's hear it. So, but tonight we're not judging folks. Each of the people you're gonna meet tonight are walking in their own personally chosen categories. They are showing you their own version of their realness, who they are in the world and in their hearts. So, with that being said, let's get some music going. Our first contestant for the evening is Jordan. Bringing in some fearless android realness, showcasing the various name tags and badges that Jordan has worn to various events, conferences, workshops, etc., and so on, because this fine person right here is your Black queer nerd of choice. And to quote their favorite artist, the Arch-Android and Electric Lady Janelle Monáe, Jordan is powerful with a little bit of tender and left of center, and that's right where they belong. They are the random minor note you hear in every major song. Show it off, Jordan. Walk it, walk it, walk it. Y'all give it up for Jordan, y'all. Take your turn, baby, take your turn. Fearless android realness, y'all. Fearless android realness. Coming in with his own soft butch daddy realness. Come on now. Rocking the genderqueer flag on that left thigh. Wearing that sheer bedazzled top. That TJ Maxx necklace. Come on now. Turn it now, turn it. Yeah, let it flow, show the action on it. Show the action on it. Come on and walk, and walk. You see, Andy here is a riot activist gone work-at-home dad. Time spent knee-deep in activism and bar life, and a 3-month-old has him more exhausted than ever, but at-home activism has been a whole new world. Those wrinkles are not from a late night at the bar. It's because that, like our community, his child never rests. Give it up for Andy, y'all. And our final contestant for the evening is Kai, coming in with some Earth Mother realness. Give that turn, girl, give that turn. Kai is nurturing by nature. She spends much of her time cultivating the tender roots of gardens and communities, never afraid to dig through the dirt to make sure bold, bright, and beautiful things can blossom. She walks this earth tall, and in the greatest of our traditions, if you need her and you're lucky, she just might be your mother one day. Give it up for Kai. With all that gorgeous realness, y'all. All right. Now, if I can have my contestants come on, circle back around. Y'all take one last walk. Take one last walk up here with Jordan, Andrew and his little baby, and Kai. Strike a pose, y'all. Strike a pose. Get your vogue on. Come on now. Give that face. Serve it. Let's hear it for them. These beautiful trans queer folk we got sitting up here tonight. Now, if y'all don't mind, I might share a little poetry with y'all. Y'all down for that? Yeah. All right. Sometimes rainbows look like broken promises. Billions of dollars tossed through a prism while still funding legislation designed to keep us in the prison of our closets. A string of lost bets. Are we free yet? There's a new line of pride-themed antidepressants to keep plague survivors and their spiritual descendants feeling fine and biding time, so try not to whine that gender policing is becoming quite literal. Lady Liberty is in the ER, and our diagnosis is critical of being told to not be bold because pride was sold in cute memes and on soup cans, in logos on packages, while ad execs make Roy G. Biv plans, senators calculate damages they can vote for to settle the score until we're no more. But be grateful, they say, because look, this month, even cookies are gay. Yeah, sometimes rainbows look like broken promises. But we break out of your binaries and recode gender like Wachowski's writing The Matrix. We expand your vocabularies, introducing old queens to some new tricks. Some of y'all like to call us fairies, erasing our lives in our obituaries, terrorizing us with your missionaries, smothering the lights of our luminaries. But the worst ones don't try to be scary. The worst ones keep us in their cliques. The worst ones say, well, now you can get married, while forgetting the rest of our rights real quick. Just as long as we're fabulous, you'll kiki and watch drag with us, but when we need you to stand with us, all of a sudden it's too much fuss to keep lawmakers from throwing us under the bus. We do not exist for your judgment or entertainment. We exist because we must. And we need you to not only tip your entertainers, we need you to tip the scales of justice. Now this evening, Adara has been so kind as to actually print out some materials to share. How many of y'all are aware of the 5 bills that have been passed in Tennessee this year that are specifically attacking trans people? A few of y'all? Cool, good. Glad you're aware. On this sheet, there's a rundown of those bills and what their summaries are. There's also some information if you would like to help out with this Pride Month. If you value our community, all of our community and its members, their safety, their livelihoods, their ability to thrive and not just survive, we ask that you contact the governor's office and let him know that you don't appreciate him signing into law discriminatory legislation that is harmful, especially to young trans people, and even to businesses who simply want to allow their patrons to use the restroom of their choice and their gender, and not be concerned about what's in their pants or on their birth certificate, because frankly, that's no one's business. So, I do ask that when you leave here tonight, consider making a call. Consider getting more involved in this community. It's one thing to celebrate Pride with us, but if you're not helping to protect us, we won't be here to throw parades. So now, if y'all are up for it, we can have a little Q&A discussion, if you want. Anybody want to start? That's a lot. I know I just threw a lot at y'all. I have a habit of doing that. Well, actually, first, let's start by, let me really introduce y'all to my friends here.
I said something to Kai that I wanted to say to everyone here as well. Marcus and I are part of a board that watched Kai come into the LGBT community here in Chattanooga and start to participate in our events. And today, I congratulated her on the amount of growth that she's had. The accountability she has for herself is absolutely outstanding, and we are blessed. It's really just handy. If you've met me, and we already know each other really well. And if you haven't met us, please, I never meet a stranger. Don't hesitate to talk to me. I was speaking earlier that it's really different for me. When I came out 15 years ago, genderqueer was almost considered radical. Even in the trans male community, I was pushed away. To see what we've changed to, and the fact that I can find a genderqueer black light flag in a local corporate location blows my mind. But to see people standing here and listening to us and participating in these calls to action are literally what changed my life. So that it's easier for me to have legal carrying of my daughter, so that it's easier for families to plan, so that it's easier for some of us to just come the fuck out. We're gonna listen to all the action stuff, please.
Hello, my name is Jordan Scruggs. I have lived in Chattanooga my entire life. I am non-binary. What that means is I go by they, them, theirs, and I also only think about my gender, to be honest, when I'm trying to find pants and fit me style. It's a struggle, let me tell you, as I think it's awful in America. But yes, I do communications, I do consulting, I do fashion, I do art. By fashion, I mean I find pants that fit me style. I lived here my entire life. I went into my own business called consulting because I wanted to be inclusive and accessible to anybody who's Black, anybody who's queer, anybody who's trans, because I realized that a lot of us are intimidated and turned away by other big corporations or other big places. And mostly, we can't access them because we are financially less off than our counterparts who are non-trans, non-queer, non-people of color, Black. I wanted to be a source for people. I wanted to help people because that's who I've always been. That's who I always am and always will be because this is all I've ever been. I've always been this non-binary, awkward purple blonde that is only trying to find pants. And so I played sports. I went to private schools. I went to all the things. I'm still a person of faith. One of these bracelets that I have on my hand right here is 3927 because I actually created an inclusive church directory when I was a participant in the Youth Advisory Council of the Trevor Project. My first project, my own entire project was really just finding an inclusive church and places of faith where queer Black people like me who live in the South and buckle on the Bible Belt their entire lives. So when we ask you to look into these legislative laws, what we're asking you to do is actually take up action. Actually spread the word and actually do something so that people like me, children who grew up like me, realize there's people out there who want to not just live but thrive and succeed. Yeah. And also, good luck finding pants.
Why art for this message? Eve coming through with a good question. Gotta put my mask down for this one. Yeah, it's a very good question. It's like, why use art to like bring people into this message and then like end it with this like, we're gonna talk about some serious stuff real quick. It's because art opens us up. You know, like when they were walking through here and showing off, y'all were having a good time, right? Like you felt like you wanted to know these beautiful people a little bit more, didn't you? Like you want to know like who they are, how this comes together. Because that's what art does. Art helps us to see each other a little more clearly. It gives us pathways into people, to experiences, to subjects that we might not otherwise open ourselves to. And then following that up with a call to action, it's like while you're open, while you're thinking about these people, my dear friends here, you want to help them. You want them to thrive so that we can still do crazy, weird things like this, and more. So yeah, that's why art. It's art just like, it opens doors, it connects us, and it makes some things more approachable.
So there's an awesome person here who's like slowly walking out of the room, but if it wasn't for her while I was trying to figure out how to plan, I wouldn't have had a support system in my workforce that allowed me to find out how to navigate the system. Truthfully, the biggest thing that I think people need when it comes to being a queer parent, especially in the South, is finding legal representation that is comfortable and understands that like, sometimes in situations there are multiple parents, not just two. And in my experience, when we first started the process, my wife and I were actually following the third partner. He was going to be the father of our daughter. I was going to be the baba of our daughter. My wife was going to be the mother of our daughter. And we planned on having a parenthood that established just 3 parents. At the period of time, that was unacceptable to any legal like team can talk to. The change that we really need is coming down to the legislation associated with what can be protected. Guardianship, specifically, a big thing that I faced as a trans gay male was the fact that I can't really comfortably legally adopt my daughter. If we were to have been in a situation where my daughter was not carried by a surrogate and was an actual adoption, we would have ended up in a situation that my wife and I's identity would have been questioned throughout the entire experience. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, very fortunate. I am not a closeted individual, and I'm not self, and I'm not quiet about my identity. Because of that, though, that meant that I had to shut down my social media. I had to remove myself from a lot of social groups, interactions, boards, and participants that I was on because of the fact that I couldn't be vocally out when I thought I was going to have to adopt my daughter versus carrying her with a surrogate. So, in that situation, I super appreciate that question, because that's not been great.
Okay, yeah. So the question was, how do allies make sure that you're getting the right information about things like harmful legislation, businesses that are openly discriminatory to our community, et cetera, and so on. So it is important to find your trusted sources. And there are a few that, they're fairly well known, like places like the HRC. They put out scorecards for states, for businesses, for companies, where they can tell you like what legislation is coming through. And actually on that Forum Tennessee Equality Project, if you want to keep track of the state laws that are coming forward, Tennessee Equality Project, sign up for their mailing list, follow them on social media. They are always, like we're out of session right now, but when the state legislature is in session, there are daily, sometimes hourly updates of what's going on in our state and in direct action items that you can take before these things make it to a governor's desk and get signed. So even while they're still in committee, they keep you informed of what's going on. So those would be my two, like if you're in Tennessee, Tennessee Equality Project, and actually almost every state has their version of Tennessee Equality Project. So if any of y'all are like from Georgia, Georgia has a Georgia Equality group that does the same kind of work. The Human Rights Campaign is always good to follow. The ACLU tracks a lot of this stuff and can like give you really good information about not just the government and businesses, but also organizations that are actively lobbying for these laws. Because something with these laws in Tennessee that a lot of people don't know is there was national money and lobbyists going for these laws in Tennessee. People who don't even live here were advocating and calling our state senators, our governor, and pressuring them to make these choices. So we also need to be aware of that and also who's supporting them. Because if you follow that back, you can go and see, okay, if we know that this Family Action Council or whoever is out here advocating for harmful legislation, then look and see who's donating to them, who's funding them. Those are the companies you also want to inform them, hey, you're not getting my business because I know you're supporting something that's hurting my community or people that I care about. So thank you for that question. Like just to make sure that those are good, trusted sources, and don't believe everything you see on the internet is also a good bit of advice.
I will also just point out, expect to be wrong. Like, when you're first getting introduced to this information, expect to be told you're wrong, and what you've been told a lot of times. As a person who grew up in the church, I grew up in a Lutheran church, that is the most boring. And Lutherans, we're German, we're Black Lutheran church. Wow. You have to go against, you have to be ready to accept the fact that you weren't always given the right information, that you were not given enough information. I myself did not know what non-binary was. I didn't know that there was other ways for people to identify themselves until I was almost 22, 23 years old. I just turned 31 on the 1st of June. And so for the longest time, I felt uncomfortable with myself, knowing I was queer, because I was like, there's something still missing, there's something still wrong, and it's because I didn't know. I didn't know, and speaking on the fact that sometimes legislation and stuff gets missed, accessibility is a big issue. Because as somebody who didn't have internet access at home and relied on public information, I relied on information I got from my schools and from other places. If your legislation says that anything involving sex cannot be discussed on the public format, then you're not going to be having access. Other people are not going to have access. Young adults, people are not, like I said, I was a full adult trying to figure out who I was and being unable to look it up because it was considered profane, it was considered immoral or something like that, just on a public computer. And I had to actually look for these other groups, these other organizations to get this information about myself. And I was proven wrong. I was like, oh, that makes sense. There's not a non-binary section in the Old Navy. That's why I can't find penis and figures. But just expect to be easy with yourself and don't race to think you have to know everything correct. You just have to start. You have to start somewhere. You have to be aware that you're going to be wrong. And like Dr. Maya used to say, once you learn better, you do better. And so once you start making those edits in your brain and you start saying that, oh, this was taught to me and it wasn't right, then you start believing that it's not right. Then you start making actions that are righting the wrongs, and you will become a better ally. We don't want allies, heathens. We want accomplices. We want somebody to stand next to us to actually get up and do the work that we're doing just to survive. And that's all I have to say. It's all the life that I'm into my hands.
It's not.
I should probably say, someone who pushes for community action as much as possible, the best thing to absolutely be a pastor for your friends.
Awesome.
Let me say it.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Also, align yourself in the places where these conversations are happening. So me specifically, I'm creating a huge conversation right now, and you don't have an excuse. So if there's a specific place where these things are happening, these resources are, tap into it. That's how you're going to become a better ally.
Any other questions? They really are. They're very friendly. I have my days.
One of the things to take into account with one of these policies right now is specifically asking for companies to mention if they allow transgender people to use their bathroom. One of the things that people don't think about when you do that is that you're outing every single trans person that walks into that establishment. When that happens, you put that person not only in a safe space physically from the possibility of attack, you're also putting that person in an unsafe space mentally. I'm somebody that, as much as I do live like this at home and I have this comfort, this is new. I haven't had this comfort until the last few years. And a lot of it comes with the fact that I have a wife that I know ain't going nowhere. And the friends that I know ain't going nowhere, and the community that I know ain't going nowhere. But when it comes down to it, there are men that live in our community that I know personally that cry because they are not out of their job, and the scariest thing that they're worried about is something changing these values. We all live different lives. We all live different choices. If we're living by the binary or not, we're still going to be in these same public spaces every single day. We're just freaking people. And there's nothing better than telling you that you don't fit in and a sign on the door every time you just have to freaking pee.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight. We really do appreciate you all joining us this evening, and we really are serious. If you want to help us out, there's some great ways to start on that little handout that was passed around. Sanctuary Cafe and Performing Arts Center. Look them up. They're on Facebook. They got a website. They have a community garden, clothing drives, support groups, shows, all kinds of things. Jordan for all your nerdy tech needs. They're also a writer with Echoing Ida. I don't think you mentioned that. Yeah. And I do want to point out that I intentionally brought trans people with very different experiences into this performance tonight, because I'm just going to put this out there. A lot of the cis members of our LGBT community often ignore and ostracize and alienate our trans friends and family. So this is also for my own community to keep in mind that it takes all of us. And you don't have to understand every single person's experience or have your vocabulary down, but what you do have to have down is your compassion for another human being. And understand that they know themselves and their experience more than you ever will. So all we can do is be there for each other. This isn't a bipartisan issue. This should not be a religious issue. This isn't about you. It's about us, all of us, sharing this city, this society, this planet, this existence together. And we don't have to hurt each other. In fact, we can embrace each other. And with that, instead of wishing y'all a happy Pride Month, how I am recognizing June, because so many terrible things are happening, but I don't think I should be sad about it, I'd like to wish all of you a gleeful Wrath Month. Good night, y'all.